All right, all you devils, how's it going out there? Sam here with you on, what are we? It's about midday, Friday the 17th of July. Now, of course, we're going to look at Bitcoin here on a Friday. So at this point, I've reached the point to where I've stripped all the Elliott off of this. Now, of course, we do have a contender here for a triangle. But the early part of this count, I actually find that trying to decipher the Elliott count is hurting, not helping. So when that's the case, I just strip it bare. And I'll wait. So if indeed, if we do experience this triangle here, if we're going to break out, which is it's not unreasonable to anticipate a break in this direction, although we're certainly vulnerable as we've just gone sideways. If we're going to break out higher, well, then we can work backwards. Once we've got the count, whatever this completes as. And you know, we certainly could complete down here, but for the time being, we'll work backwards, because then this would be the 4 of something, right? Because we can't have a triangle in the second, so we can, all right, well, this likely our 3, so if it's 4, then we're going to have to work backwards, right? We're always going to be stuck with a lousy start to this count, where it's just lacking of clarity, and Elliotticians are going to differ on how it's going to be labeled. It could be labeled multiple different ways. So when it's that confusing, I just take it off, right? I don't have to have it on there to analyze something technically. Now, if it's helping, great. If it's hurting, get it off. It's not helping me here. So, I mean, even something simple like just taking a regression channel through high to low, right? So we've broken outside of that, right? All of this move. So it would seem that whatever we were doing here, this is all self-contained. And now as we work through the correction here, you know, we've been going sideways for almost 2 months now. All right, when did we do this? May 10th, right? We're out here at July 17th. It's been a long, slow grind. Now, on a positive note, it's letting the alts start to shine. All right, so the question will be, if indeed we're going to rip out of here to the high side, right, with alts to Bitcoin, are they going to go with it, right, or do they get hurt? So remains to be seen, but a couple of things to note here. So remember, a triangle here doesn't need to be part of an Elliott context. So calling this a triangle, you know, it doesn't have to be part of an Elliott wave structure. So I think we can sit here and look at this and go, all right, well, sure, we've been, you know, just bored to death for the last 2 months. But as we hit the apex here, it's interesting. Now, of course, it is visible range. But as we hit the apex of the triangle here, we're right at point of control, right? So it's going to be interesting to see which ways that this breaks. Now, the other thing here that I noticed is, so if I just grab this and I'm just splitting the apex of the triangle here, which happens to be right at the point of control. Again, it's visible range, so that would change if I move this around. But based on, you know, really what we're looking at here for, you know, for just evaluation here is, you know, we've got this perfect V that we created here off of the COVID and the recovery here. So as we come to another perfect V, which way are we going here? I don't think you want to make necessarily any assumptions, because Bitcoin is prone to head fakes, right? So something like that wouldn't shock me either. So sorry. What will be interesting, right? If this is going to really kick here, do the alts go with it? Right? It'll be interesting to see. So now again, as I was just looking at this here, if we just wick that off here and we take the apex of the triangle, and is it, you know, the calm before the storm? Well, remains to be seen. But if I kind of wicking off here, this was our potential pivot here. Here's some structure. Here's our low. Here's the new range, and then I'm just splitting it. Well, if I just kind of look at that, right? What do they look like? Right? They look pretty equidistant spacing, don't they? All right. So what's the first thing that makes you think? Right? Is wolf range here? So let's. Oh, I think I have it actually. I saved it because I don't want to take it off. So if I come back here and I just, where do I have it? Here. Okay, so let's put the wolf range on. Right, remember, so wolf range is just range expansion. So if I've got this dialed in just right here, so you can see how all of those lines, this we missed here by a couple of ticks, but we're essentially, you know, we missed here by a tick or two, but that's the 200% of the initial range. So as you've seen me do this before, right? So if this is our low end of the box here, we're moving in perfect symmetry, right? Second, third, right? So here we sit, and note I put the 50s on this, so this is the wolf with the 50s. So as we sit 50% of this box, you know, which way are we going? Right, remarkably, right? So we know that, well, very high probability that this level of precision, right? Only software will do that. We're not that precise, right? In terms of when we panic sell and when we panic buy and FOMO in and FOMO. There's no possible way that that's random, right? I mean, it's literally within ticks of each one of these here. Each one, here's the distance, here's half the distance, right? So we're just staying right with that. Now, of course, I suppose I should put the 250 in here between the 250 and the 3. So if we are gonna break out of this, right? Well, here obviously that'll be some resistance to get through, and put the 50 on here. Can we get up to the 300? Well, again, it remains to be seen. But we certainly have algorithms at play in here. Now, our traditional measured move algo here, there's been a few, but they're sloppy. So I think the last one that was decent was here. If I get the right, but we got a little sloppy down here. Right, and targets have been denied, so it's just unclear, right? Other than this sure does look like a triangle, right? So you might anticipate, but I don't know that we have enough there. I wouldn't be adding to anything here. I want to see which way this goes. There's just not enough here, right? Triangle, okay, right? So, but if I had a perfect 1, 2, and I had gone into the 3, 4, and all of that was fine, yeah, then maybe I'd trade it. But here, I don't know what the hell that is. Right? And until I get resolution, I'm not willing to put money at risk on speculating. So while I'm long and remain long, I'm not looking to add here until I get some clarity on which way we're going. And I think that's a reasonable stance to take. I think there are better opportunities across crypto than to be longing Bitcoin here without some sense of which way we go here. But this, I think, again, you can just say, well, it's chart magic, big fucking deal, right? So, but the point being, that level of precision just shows you how clearly the market is moved and ranged by algorithms. Again, we are not that precise. So all that said, I think you're in, well, shit, as we've been for 2 months, we're just in a holding pattern to see which way we break here. We're either way, right? It's gonna be a big tell, right, as to how we'll ultimately count this and where we would anticipate the next move. So even just the simplest thing of here, let's take that off and let's think about where the next opportunity might be. If we just go back to a traditional retracement, I swing low to swing high. Let's get that dialed back in here. Let's just use the 50 and the 618. So if we're going to come down here again, this is nicely framed here by some of that structure that we were just looking at. So if it's down, I'm very interested down here, right? Anywhere in this box, very interested. If it's breaking up, well, of course we do have this. That's the trend line. It's all going. Can I get it all in here? From the top, right? That's stiff resistance, right? We've tagged it 3 times. We got to get through that. That's no small task, right? So this is to get, we could break out of this and bump our heads here again, and then perhaps we're revisiting the triangle because the D could go up here. We could end up with something along these lines if this is gonna come here. This fucker to go something along these lines, right? We could end up with something a little different in terms of this still being a triangle if we're going to bump our heads. If it is a break up, if we're going to go, God damn it, if you never the first click. If it breaks up, right, that this will be a significant tell because we know this was technical, this was technical. All of these technical pivots, if we can get on the other side, then we start to get blue sky up there. But until then, we're just kind of stuck in a rut. All right, so let's bring this all back if I can. Get it all back. There we go. So we just sit, right, waiting, right? You can see, just kind of looking here, right? This is obviously very important to the market. Structure with support, resistance. Now we're just sitting right in the middle here. So this is going to be quite the tell. Until then, why take the risk here, right? This could go either way. Right? You have no advantage here. No pattern really. I mean, yeah, sure, the triangle, but you're so sloppy before it. It's just why take the risk, right? Just wait, be patient, right? And if you get a little bit of a pop, okay, but don't assume we're going to the moon, right? So a little retrace. Don't FOMO in, right? I would suggest that if you're really anxious to get long, I would wait until you get a break and then perhaps you get a retest from above. Very, very commonly, you'll see that on a really substantial trend line, it has to get checked. So if they can get up through it, don't be surprised if you see the retrace to hit it from the other side, and then you might go up for something like that, and then you put that in the context of where we know algorithms could get on board. So something like that, and again, I'm just randomly drawing here, but if we were to see something like that, well, then you know, okay, so if this is ultimately to be counted as a 4, which would be the higher probability in terms of working backwards, if that's the 4, well, this perhaps the 1, 2, kiss the trend line, and off we go. Now you're on your way to your 4, your 5, and now we've got perhaps a count we can string together. Until then, careful of the FOMO, right? Even a little pop here. Now we're going into the weekend, right? It's all sorts of volatility potential. We haven't seen it for 2 months, but right, Bitcoin, just the time when you lose interest and give up on it, right? That's when you'll see something happen. All right, so what are we doing? 10 minutes there. I don't think there's a lot more to add here, but I thought this might be worth taking a look at here. So I went over to Bitcoin. What are we calling this? Bitcoin SV, Satoshi's Vision. So just kind of looking through the family of Bitcoins, Bitcoin Cash didn't look particularly interesting to me. At least this is technical. So I know you're thinking, all right, so okay, those algorithms are all over Bitcoin, but would they be in BSV? Right? Would they be in here? Well, you know where I'm going, right? With that kind of a lead in. Well, let's just take a look. Right? So how'd they do here? Whoop, if I get right on that pivot. Get it right there. It looks like it may have broken it by a tick. It looks like it did. Well, you know, so we got a tick or two through it, and then we went straight to second target. Man, I could have sworn that was right on it, but I guess we did break by just a couple of ticks. Down we go, second target, right? We do see this. It wouldn't invalidate. If I get that right on there, I could have sworn that was. Fuck, I never get that right. That's a little, yeah, like broke by a tick. Nonetheless, here I'm just dwelling on that. Let's go down to our new low here and work from this pivot here. Was it this one? One of these was spot on here. So we banged this a couple of times, and now are we going down here? We're going to 20 bucks. Well, I don't know. Looks to me like you might have an impulse getting started here in a long, slow, sloppy second. So you'd have to go. Didn't quite mean it that way. A long, slow, sloppy second. Yeah, I didn't really, that kind of came out the wrong way. But let's look at here. So if this is an impulse off the low, well, what do we do, right? So golden zone again. Right? So it's just, again, it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't, 1 minute chart, 1 month chart, one Bitcoin SV, it's always, right, it's the same algorithm, right? It's what moves the market. It's the DNA of the market. Every move is put together somewhere, right? There is nothing where you won't find this, right? It's always there. Always there. Okay, so with that, okay, so maybe do you want to long that? Well, it would be technically, you do have a golden corner, right? You've got your golden corner right there. Looks like you could have a start. Well, shit, let's go down to an hourly. You might have something there you could trade. A lot of people like this project. Well, so we're just looking at it and just standard ops here. Let's wick that off, possibly a 1. Looks like we got a WXY going in here. Let's check that pivot low here from our golden zone. Well, looks that's close enough. All right, so we get, looks like possibly a front run on the 50. We just rip right up. So 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. Oh, can we get that started? 1, I guess 2, 3, 4, maybe 5. Let's go up a degree. I might do it this way. It seems like a good spot for a regression channel. We start to move a little bit higher now. Let's do it the right way. So let's go from our wave 2 low. All right, so we got, that's fairly deep, and I'm going to guess this is technical here. So, right, so there you can see it now. So we come from this swing, we go golden zone. There's the target just in front of the 618. Looks like that's a slight front run. So you don't really have much of a start on anything there just yet. Bring that right on. So there's golden zone. That's a couple of ticks. That's not good enough to start with. We just zoom in there. That doesn't look like much. Now maybe if that if that were going to do something and you got a little kick here, maybe you could get a little more excited about that. Right now, that just looks double bottom, right? It's not good enough, right? So what could go lower? Maybe it's going golden zone. Maybe it's the front run. Maybe they're going to go down and get that target. It's not quite good enough to really call it a trade that's setting, unless you're just anxious to be long in BSV. Right? Maybe put a stop under the 65 down here if you're anxious to get long in this project here. I don't know that that's anything you would need to do, but it certainly is technical. Right, that's kind of what I was trying to get to. All right, so there's not much more I can say. So what I think I'll do, since this is relatively short, I'm going to come back with a couple other. We'll look at a few other crypto projects where I think there's a better looking setup, and we'll wait for Bitcoin to show its hand. Until then, it's hurry up and wait. We'll just wait and see what comes out of that triangle. All right, maybe we'll get some action, right? As we sit here, something, right? We're at the apex. Something's coming. Something's coming soon. Okay, guys, talk to you later.